Hello everyone. Have your props ready. Have 2 blocks and a bolster if you have one. If not, you can always just grab a couch pillow. That works just as well. Beginning with some breath practice or pranayama, find a comfortable seat, closing your eyes. And these practices, we're going to be breathing in through the low belly, relaxing the abdomen, beginning with box breath. Take an inhale and an exhale to begin. And then we're going to be beginning counting to a count of 4 for inhale, holding for 4, and exhaling for 4, and pausing for 4. Ready? Exhale your air and begin. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, hold, exhale, and release. And just breathe naturally. Coming now into child's pose. So come to all fours. And then widen your knees and you can bring your big toes to touch, the traditional child's pose posture. Or you can bring your shins parallel to one another and your knees parallel to one another. You can have your hands outstretched in front of you. Bring a block underneath the forehead, or you can always just fold the hands on top of one another, bringing your forehead on top of the hands. Child's pose for 3 minutes. Finding your position. And you just want to really relax the shoulders here. So once you find that position, maybe you're on top of the thighs, maybe the knees are open and toes are together. Either way, take a deep inhale into the low back. And exhale, just find yourself releasing to gravity, surrender. The breathing in these poses is all just natural, authentic. If you'd like it to be deep breaths, that's always beneficial, but you don't have to. Just breathe easy through the low belly. Feel each inhale inhabit the lumbar spine, the low back, bringing ease to that area. And each exhale, you feel yourself letting go of any muscle work in the body, just completely surrendering to gravity. Yin Yoga is no muscle work involved. We're just simply in this shape and breathing. Noticing the activity in the mind, not judging ourselves for having such activity, just bringing awareness to how busy our mind is. and that's okay. Maybe if you notice the mind being particularly busy, you focus on those beginning of the inhale all the way to the end of the exhale, bringing yourself to the present moment. Just breathing with ease, surrendering any muscle work. Take one last inhale, one last exhale. Slowly come out of the pose onto all fours. From here, we're moving into Sphinx Pose. So you're going to want to come onto your belly and have your block handy. Bring your elbows onto the floor or mat. So you're propped up on your forearms, on your elbows. Your feet can be wide apart, or you can bring them in closer, whatever feels best on your low back. Make sure that you're not moving forward with the shoulders. You want to have those elbows just underneath the shoulder and maybe an inch forward. Using that block just as a prop for the forehead to rest on. For 3 minutes here. The important thing here is to release any muscle work from the waist down, especially the glute muscles. Next inhale, feel the breath. Next exhale, feel the muscles in the glutes just relax. The leg muscles relax. And even the shoulders and neck relax. Resting the head on the block. And you're just propping yourself up with your elbows. Feeling that natural curvature to the low back. And breathing into it. Softening the muscles of the face, the jaw, even the eyebrows. No muscle work, surrendering and propping yourself up with the elbows. Feeling the belly rising and falling against the floor or mat. Maybe becoming aware of each exhale, your hips sinking even deeper into the floor or mat. And just breathing in this shape. And watching the mind, not getting carried away with the thoughts, just noticing them and coming back to the sensation of body and breath. This wonderful union of breath and body, even in these poses that are still, with no movement. You still feel those subtle movements in tune with the breath. One more deep inhale. One long exhale. Slowly remove the block. And then this is just a counter pose. Bring your right or left cheek onto the mat or floor. Spread your arms wide, and then whichever way you're facing, bring that knee up alongside behind you. Just slide it up. This is a release for the lumbar spine, the low back. We're doing a lot of back bending here, so we want to give a nice resting or counter posture in between. And just breathing here for about a minute. Feeling any sensations release in that low back. And slowly bring your legs back together and come back to that Sphinx pose that you were just in. Grab the block once again. Find your posture, and then you're welcome to stay in Sphinx for another 3 minutes, or bring your forearms on top of the block at the lowest setting. So you're on top of that block with your forearms. And your hands can come to prayer maybe, or come together. You might want to scoot the hips forward just a bit, and maybe widen your legs. This is a little deeper of a back bend, getting a little deeper into that Sphinx pose. Intensifying it by using this block, raising the forearms. Once again, inhale. And on that exhale, completely release any glute muscles. Unclench the butt muscles. Soften the thighs, the hamstrings, even the ankles and feet. Let the shoulders, neck, and jaw soften. And we're just in this pose for 2 minutes. Maybe notice the different sensations with this deeper version of Sphinx Pose. Calmly breathing into that low belly. Each exhale, letting go a little more. Any tension in the neck or shoulders, just softening into it, even sending the breath there. Feeling the front of the hips lower, deeper into the floor with each exhale. If you choose to stay in this modified Sphinx, you're welcome to stay here. If you'd like to intensify, bring your arms off of the block, and you're going to come up to Seal Pose. So this is a little more intense, it's a little deeper, so you're welcome to stay on the block or even come back to Sphinx if that feels better on you. Seal Pose, you're going to straighten completely your arms and rotate the hands out so they're like flippers. Shoulders roll back. Feet can spread wider here. And then lift through the chest and look forward. And on the exhale, you just sink right in to those propped up arms that are straight, holding you up, almost like 2 tent stakes, holding your torso up. So we're not bending into the elbows. We don't want to be using muscle work in the arms and the biceps and triceps. Almost letting it just slump into our shoulders. Softening the shoulders, the neck and jaw. Inhale. And then exhale and just really feel the front of the hips sink into the floor. This is quite a deep back bend, so you really want to release the muscle work in the glutes and the legs. Widening the feet can make this a little easier. If you feel any sharp pinching in the low back, come back to either the Sphinx on the block, or you can just walk your hands forward a bit, but keep the arms straight. Just here for a few more breaths. And then slowly come out. Come back to your Sphinx pose. Resetting the low back. And then remove that block out of the way. And we're going to take that counter pose, that low back relief, put the opposite cheek to the mat, slide the opposite knee up alongside the body. Just breathing here, feeling the different sensations. How this feels different from when you were in that deep Sphinx pose. Slowly bring your legs back together and come up to a seat. Maybe just sitting on your heels for a while to reset the low back. Taking some deep breaths here. And then come to a seat and spread the legs wide. Our next posture is half butterfly. So begin with the legs wide and then bring either your right or left leg in. So your heel comes towards your pelvis. Now, if this is bothersome for the knee, you can put a cushion under the knee. You want to grab both blocks. Have those blocks on the inside of the outstretched leg. Those are going to be to support your forehead as we're going to be bending forward over the outstretched leg. So begin by rotating the torso over the outstretched leg. Maybe even pull back on that hip of the outstretched leg and then hinge forward at the hips by just walking your tiptoeing your fingers forward. Stack the blocks high. I like to stack them nice and high to start. You want to feel this on the low back on the side. In this case, it would be the left side. So whatever side the bent leg is on, that's where you're going to feel it on the low back. So you really want to anchor down on the hip, hinge forward, and then round down over the block, bringing your head to the stacked blocks. Stack those blocks as high as you need. Even putting a pillow on top of 2 blocks is fine. Holding here for 3 minutes. Once again, using that pillow underneath the bent knee, really just relaxing any muscle work here. Each inhale, feel that breath inhabit the lumbar spine or the side of that low back where you feel that stretch. And once you find your posture, you may have to engage muscle a little to find that deep stretch, and then you're just going to completely release the muscle and just be there, floating in that shape, relaxing in that shape, letting go in that shape, letting the deep stretch come to the connective tissues around the spine, the tendons, the ligaments, and especially the fascia around the muscles, the myofascia. Creating space there for synovial fluids, for the energy body, to conduct energy unobstructed, and send that breath into those energetic centers. These poses may not feel like much in the first minute even, but once you get to minute 3 or beyond, you can feel these. They start to really, gravity takes its toll. Important to just let it happen, ease up on muscle. Soften the jaw, soften the shoulders, soften the ankles and the flexion of the feet. Just let go. Allow yourself that ease. Taking conscious breaths into the low back. One more inhale. One more exhale. Slowly unfurl by pushing yourself back up. Slowly unravel the legs. I'm going to take the other side. So legs come out and then just bring the other leg in, and each side may be different. So this side, I actually do need that pillow underneath my knee, which is fine. Holding here for 3 minutes, you're going to need some kind of proppage for any of those limbs that are just sort of hanging in space. Leading with the chest, hinge forward at the hips, anchor down in the hips, walk the fingertips forward. Maybe you're engaging muscle at this point, that's fine. Find that deep stretch and then round down and let go. Again, here for 3 minutes. Take that inhale, feeling it in the low back. This time maybe on the right side, on the opposite side. And on your exhale, surrender, letting go of any muscle work. And just breathing in this shape with ease Noticing the mind, just giving it a smile, come back to breath. No judgment, just floating in the present moment. Noticing thoughts and then watching them just disappear as you come back to breath and the sensations in the body, just as they are here now. Softening the shoulders and the jaw. Take one more deep inhale. One long exhale. Slowly round up, removing the blocks. And then from here, we're just going to take that counter posture, zigzagging or windshield wipering the knees back and forth. Make sure that your feet are wider than your hips here. Just loosening up the hips and then making your way on top of your block at the lowest setting. So you're going to sit on top of the block for this next pose, which is butterfly pose. You can also sit on top of a bolster. You do want your hips raised above your heels for butterfly pose. Bring the soles of the feet to touch and just bring them into where they would naturally go. So you don't have to be crazy with it. Just let the knees fall where they may. You can always stack the knees up with blocks or pillows. And then bring those blocks in front of you as you're going to use them to rest the forehead on, perhaps. And leading with your chest, you want to really traction and lengthen the spine as you walk the fingers forward. So you're really hinging at the hips. You're not rounding that back. You're pushing the chest forward, walking forward, lengthening the spine. And then when you can't go anymore, then you round down. Stack those blocks high. You can also bring that bolster sort of as a teepee. It's not shown here, but you can teepee that bolster underneath the forehead the long way. Basically, just stack whatever you need to do to give your neck a rest. Pillows, bolsters, blankets, and blocks. And then when you're rounded down and you've found that sweet spot, that stretch to the entire low back, and you're feeling that slight stretch to the hips and groin as well, soften the knees, soften the shoulders, surrender everything to gravity, releasing all muscle, even the muscles in the face. in the jaw, the neck. Maybe adjusting that pose to where you don't feel too much discomfort, but Yin Yoga is not meant to be like restorative yoga. You should feel sensation. Feeling a little discomfort in these postures is what you want. We're creating stress on the connective tissues of the body. We want the body to think it's under stress, so it sends that healing cellular activity to those areas, building those collagenous tissues, sending fluids to those joints, strengthening the tissues in the joints. In this case, those hip joints. This butterfly pose is a wonderful pose that hits so many areas of the body. Take a deep breath into the kidneys, the low back. Surrender and release on the exhale. Softening the jaw, no tensing up, allowing the discomfort to just be, breathing into it. Take one more deep inhale and one long exhale. Slowly round up, removing the blocks. Very easily, just using your hands to bring your knees back together. Coming off of the cushion or block that you're sitting on. And then once again, doing that counter posture of windshield wipering the knees back and forth slowly. Really noticing the sensations in the hip sockets. From here, outstretch the legs in front of you, showing you from the side here. Our next posture is going to be half saddle. Half saddle is a back bend of sorts, but it's also a deep opening to the front body. So with your legs out front, bring one leg back and have the heel outside your hip. Now you might need some cushioning under the top of the foot, but from here, you're going to want to keep that bent knee anchored down and bring some blocks behind you. I'm showing you here some different options. You can use a couch pillow or two because we want to be reclining back with that knee bent and the heel on the outside of the hip. But you want to keep the knee anchored down. So you're going to feel a deep stretch to the opening to the front body here, as well as back bending into the back. Those front hip flexors, getting a nice stretch. So bring whatever cushioning you need on your back so you can recline. A bolster is wonderful here. If you have one of these longer ones, just put it up against the tailbone and then recline right back on top of it, supporting your head and neck as well as your back. Another option you can do is bring the pillow underneath your knee. If it's very difficult to bring that knee down, anchored it to the floor. So this is a fully supported version here of half saddle. So you might want to even stop the recording and just try some different ways, because we're going to be here for 3 minutes. So find that pose that works for you. And here I'm using the bolster without the pillow, just reclining back. And some of you may not need any cushioning behind the back. You may just be able to recline straight back if you're very open in the front body. And don't worry about the knee splaying out to the side. The important thing here is that you just have that ankle on the outside of the hip. So you're really feeling that stretch to that front hip flexor. Surrender to gravity. Take a deep inhale. Feel the belly, the chest rise. And on your exhale, complete release into that bolster, into the mat or floor. Softening any muscles in the legs. If you are so inclined and you want to intensify this, you can bring the opposite, the outstretched leg, up onto the sole of the foot. So you would bend that knee, getting an even deeper stretch. Bending the opposite leg that is straight, bringing the sole of the foot to the mat or floor. Just breathing here in this shape. Surrendering that low back. Letting the front of the body open. There's so few times in our day when we are able to feel this deep opening to the front body. We're so often hunched forward. Allowing the belly to fill and rise. Feeling on each exhale just a little more surrender. One more deep inhale here. And a long exhale. Very slowly, you're just going to roll off to one side. Remove the padding, whatever you have underneath your back. And then from here, we're coming into half happy baby, or half stirrup, it's also known as. So bringing that leg that was bent back, bring it up in the air, bend the knee around and outside the torso, and grab the heel, as you see here. You can leave the other leg bent with the sole of the foot on the floor, or you can straighten it for a little deeper stretch. And we're just here for 1 minute, so it's not a long pose, but this is sort of a counter pose, half stirrup. So that knee should be outside of the rib cage. And you're not pulling with muscle down on the hand. You're just sort of letting it as a counterweight. Just hang. And this should feel good after that half saddle. Soften the shoulder as much as you can. Breathing deep into the hips. One more inhale. One more exhale. Release. And then we're going to repeat that sequence on the other side. So find your way to the other side with the opposite leg now. Brought in, heel to the outside of the hip. Find your proppage. And recline back for half saddle on the other side. For 3 minutes here. Breathing deeply if you like, to nourish the body with the breath. Surrender the shoulders and jaw and neck. Feel everything just ease up on those exhales. Notice any areas where you're still sort of holding on with muscle. Even just a little bit to see if you can surrender and release all those nooks and crannies, all the areas of the body. And then again, if you like, you can bring that outstretched leg up on the sole of the foot to get a deeper stretch, and maybe just seeing what that's like or not. Half saddle for about 1 more minute or so. Take one more deep inhale here. One long exhale. Slowly roll off onto one side. Remove the blocks or pillow that you're sitting on if you have them. And then coming back into that half stirrup on the other side now. So whichever leg was just bent behind you is now going to be up in the air. Grab onto the inside or the outside of the arch of the foot. Make sure that knee is to the side of the rib cage. And then you're just going to really allow yourself to almost be very vulnerable in this pose. This is a very vulnerable pose. And just let the hand weigh down on the foot, getting that deep opening, that stretch. in the opposite direction for the hip. The opposite leg can be stretched out straight. It's a little more intense. If you'd like to ease up, you can bring the opposite leg, sole of foot on the floor or mat. And just here for 1 minute. Allowing the connective tissue to get that tensile stretch. And then when you're finished, release the foot and just lie down on the back with your knees together and your feet wide apart. So bringing your knees in close, that gives the low back a little rest. And our last posture, my favorite, Pontoon Pose. Pontoon Pose is an everyday posture for me. So bring that block and you want to place it under your sacrum. Your sacrum is that flat triangular shaped bone disc above your tailbone and below your lumbar spine. So we're propping the hips up as you would for a supported bridge, this is also known as supported bridge. And then from there, you can leave the knees bent. You can leave the soles of the feet on the mat or floor, or outstretch the legs for full pontoon. And you will notice just a wonderful feeling of just freedom and release. Almost as if you're just floating in midair. Really allow the body to surrender in this pose. This is a beautiful, beautiful pose. Again, there's so many times during the day where we don't have the opportunity to open the front body. At the end of the day, this pose feels very, very good. I highly recommend this nightly, just for 5 minutes or so. Really just surrender the jaw and the shoulders to the mat. Notice the belly rising and falling on its own. The breath nourishing you on each inhale. And each exhale, just the sense of ease, of floating. Just being here now in this moment with softness and ease. Noticing the mind and its activity, but becoming aware that these are just thoughts, not getting carried away or attached with them. Seeing them as transparent, like clouds in a sky. They come and they go, forever changing. Just allow them to be, but don't allow them to take hold of your emotions or your reactions. Take one more deep inhale. And a long exhale. Bring the feet in, remove the block from underneath your sacrum. Put it aside and resist the urge to hug the knees in. Just allow the back to rest on the floor and bring those knees together once again and the feet wide apart. This is a good restorative pose for the low spine. And then making your way to Savasana, your most comfortable position. If you want to bring blankets or pillows or anything, you can always stop the recording and then continue when you're ready. And just come to that Savasana with complete surrender. There is nothing to do here but just be in your body. There's no right way or wrong way to do this. Just witness the sensations running through the body. Feel the toes, the feet just splay open naturally. And the muscles of the calves soften. The knees just resting. Muscles of the legs relaxed. Hips relaxed. Heavy against the floor or mat. Belly softly rising and falling. And just breathing authentically and naturally. Shoulders soft, neck and jaw relaxed, eyes closed. Muscles of the face relaxed. Feeling the body as a whole, connected to the earth. The weight of the body connected to the earth. As one unit, one sphere of sensation, open and receiving. Any manifestations in the mind that come up, just watch them move by like clouds in a sky. Your body now refreshed, at ease, comforted. Take a deep inhale and a long exhale. When you're ready, very slowly make your way to one side. Cradle yourself for a moment, and then come to a comfortable seat to end our practice. Wherever you are, sitting or lying down, bring your hands to heart center and your thumbs to third eye. Namaste. Thank you for watching.